Well, it's good to see everybody. Thanks for getting together. Just wanted to spend a few minutes, obviously, talking about our announcement from this morning. You know, I think it's important that everybody understand. I spend many waking hours thinking about what I, as the athletic director, can do to help our football program become successful. And I spend a lot of time with our team. I watch a lot of practices. I study every game, the film after the games are over. I spend time with our staff. I see the work that they're doing to develop our players. I see the plans they're putting in place around the program. I have an insider's look at what's happening in Illinois football, and I have had that look now for the last 3 years. And today's announcement, I think, is really a culmination of that assessment. I recognize that we're not satisfied in any way with how many victories we've been able to post over the last 3 years. But I also see the progress that we've made. I've had the opportunity to study and look at this team and see the way that we have grown as a program, the steps that we put in place, and I recognize what the situation was when we arrived 3 years ago. I do think that stability is incredibly important when you find the right leadership, and I believe in Lovie Smith. I believe in the head football coach. I believe in the people he's put around him, and I recognize that we are entering into, I think, a hugely important offseason. I think that we have identified a group of staff members who are key to our future success. I think we've identified a core group of players who are coming back, who are key to our future success. In addition, I think we need to go out and attract some new faces to that coaching staff, and we need to be able to go out and recruit a few key pieces on the roster, whether it's from high school players, transfers, fifth-year players. And I think that this message is important for them to hear, that we believe in what we're doing, that we have the stability that's necessary here to bring long-term success to Illinois football. And so as we evaluated different strategies heading into this offseason, this is the one that we believe puts us in the strongest position going forward to ultimately bring that success to Illinois football. And so that's why we made the move that we did today, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Josh, why should fans have confidence after this defense regressed so badly?
Well, I think, look, it's about the whole team. And it's about, you can sit there and look at each phase of the game, whether it's offense, defense, special teams. I think recruiting is another important element to that. And ultimately, we want to see how those things come together to result in wins. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that we've had as much on-field success as any of us would like over the last 3 years. But I do think that we're moving the right direction, and I see progress. I know that we were just a couple plays away, both against South Florida and yesterday, from pulling off, I think, 2 significant wins for the program, and ultimately being bowl eligible. And we're going to continue to move that needle forward. I think we made tremendous growth on the offensive side of the football. Pleased with Rod Smith and his arrival, the identity that he's brought to our offensive football team. I think that we put out a good group on the special teams side, and obviously we didn't do the things that we wanted to do defensively throughout different parts of the season. But even yesterday, I think you look at the game, and again, we gave up some rushing yards, but the team stepped up when they needed to and was opportunistic and put us in a position to win the game down the stretch. And I think there's opportunity there to continue on something that ultimately will allow us to be successful.
Josh, regarding yesterday, did you already have your mind made up pretty much what you wanted to do, or did the events of yesterday kind of solidify that last night?
Clearly, we'd already put together a strategy. We knew the direction that we wanted to go. I think the results from yesterday only helped strengthen that decision and further, in my own mind, cement that call and to move forward in this way.
I guess maybe identifying this as the strategy you want to pursue, what made the timing of doing it after a third season your choice?
I think there's a couple things at play there. Anytime you get a coach, especially in football, men's basketball, where they have less than 4 years left on their contract, you start to leave them open to some criticism or vulnerability in terms of recruiting, certainly. And so we thought that after this third year, it was important to send that signal. And then also, I think that it's in important times we head into this recruiting cycle. The December recruiting period will open on December 19th. We've got 3 intense weeks here of recruiting in front of us, and we all understand the negative implications that a particular narrative could have on those efforts. And if we allow that story to continue unchecked, that coach is in trouble, that Illinois doesn't have stability, I think that damages our ability to go out and recruit high-level players, to recruit high-level coaches. And we're into a phase of our year now where those are some of our most important tasks. And so coming out strongly today, we think was the right move to be sure that those people who are making those decisions here over the coming weeks recognize that there's an administration here, there's a university here that believes in what's happening with Illinois football and is anxious to have them come on board with us.
There's 2 extra years at the end of the contract to change any of the buyout terms?
Yeah, we're still working through some of those terms. We'll bring those to the board for their vote at their January meeting. But I do think this won't be a new contract. It's largely the same contract. We're not tearing up what we have, but we'll add some years to the end. We're still working on what some of those terms might look like. I don't anticipate any significant salary increase as part of the extension, but again, we'll work through some of those in the weeks ahead.
What were some of the off-the-field assessments that were made in this decision? Because, on the field, the results weren't quite there, but you must have saw something off the field with it.
I think it's all those things that I talked about. I have a chance to be on the practice field. I have a chance to be around the team in the meetings, to see the work that our staff is doing with our current student athletes, to see the work that they're doing on the recruiting trail, to witness for myself the way that they handle different situations, whether it's off the field circumstances, different adversity that students might encounter. And so you get a lot of contact points with a football staff over a period of years. I interact with them truly on a daily basis, and so you have all kinds of opportunities to form those opinions and to use to ultimately justify these judgments. But again, I think all those things in summary, to me, gave me great confidence in the way that we're headed, and thought it was important to send Coach into this offseason with strong support so that he can go out and continue to make the program better.
Josh, you have 6 blowout losses in Big Ten play, but why do you think Illinois is closing the gap with the rest of the Big Ten?
Well, all I can do is continue to repeat the things that I've already said. I think that we've got strong leadership, and I believe in Coach Smith and the work that he's doing. I have great appreciation for the assistant coaches he's put around him. I think that on the offensive side of the football especially, we took a tremendous step forward this year. I don't think there's any reason that we can't take a similar step on the defensive side of the football over this upcoming offseason. We've got a team that is 80% freshmen and sophomores, and we had a defense this year that had 1 senior that played significant minutes and started for us. And so there's a lot of reasons that eventually we have to go from being a young football team to being a mature, experienced football team. And this decision puts us in the strongest position to allow that maturity to happen, to allow us to retain the core group of guys who've gone out over these last 2 years and gotten great experience on the field. And we look forward to helping them continue along that path. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that we're pleased with the results of every game that we had this year. We're not. And if Coach were sitting here, he would say the same thing. But we do think that there are a lot of good things happening. We went through significant injuries this year. I think that's one of the untold stories of the season. We had starters and significant players miss many minutes, entire games. We were reshuffling the deck on the defensive side in particular almost every game. And you look at the defensive backfield, we were playing different people in different positions week to week. And so, I think that we're in a position to take a strong step forward defensively. I think a year ago, people would have said, well, what are you going to do with the offense? And we were able to really take a strong step there, and there's no reason we can't do something similar on the defensive side as we head into 2019. Yeah.
Josh, what does giving an extension do for the stability and the message you want to send versus just if you came today and said, I want to shut down that narrative that Lovie would be fired?
Yeah, again, I think it's the old saying, actions speak louder than words. And we had a number of different ways we could have approached this today. We thought the extension was the most meaningful. Again, as people are making decisions about where they want to spend their future, we wanted to demonstrate firmly and strongly that this is a direction that we believe in. This is a person that we believe in. This is a program that is on the rise. And we're grateful to our university for supporting that effort, that decision. And looking forward to meeting with the team tomorrow morning as they're in their postseason wrap-up. And I assume most of them will hear the news today, but talking with them tomorrow myself about our reasons for the decision, our belief in the work that they're doing. I think it's not just a validation of Lovie Smith, it's a validation of Illinois football. And there's a recognition that there are hundreds of people involved in making Illinois football what it is. Whether you're talking about assistant coaches, support staff, student athletes, certainly, all of them are working tirelessly every day. And if we can let them know from my chair, we believe in what you're doing, to me that's a strong message. And I want them to hear that message. I want them to feel our support because they've got a lot of more important work for them to do in the upcoming off season. And it's hard. I know from my own experience to go out on the field and not get the results that you want when you put so much time and energy into preparing for those 12 opportunities. It can be discouraging. And so if, as the athletic director, I can provide them with some pat on the back, some reassurance that you're doing the right things, you're making progress, we're behind you, maybe that can provide a little wind in their sails, a little pep in their step as they head into this off season. Whether you're talking about our players, whether you're talking about our coaches, our support staff, everybody wants to know that they're believed in. Everybody wants to know that they're valued and that they're going to have an opportunity to get this right. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget. You know, look, we're 3 years into this with 2 recruiting classes, and you know that is not nearly enough time for a program to take the steps forward coming from where we were. And I think it's easy to forget what the situation was that we put Coach Smith in when we started here in 2016, and so he needs the runway that's necessary in order to move forward and really soldier us out of the place where we were.
Josh, how impressed were you with the job that Rod did with the offense?
Incredibly impressed with Rod Smith. I think that you know, he's a great fit for this university. He brings a strong identity to the offensive side of the football, has similar values, understands our institution, has come in and I think provided tremendous leadership, not just for our student athletes, but for our staff on the offensive side. And looking forward to working with him to be sure that he continues to be in the orange and blue for many years ahead. He's done a great job. Yeah,
have you had conversations about trying to keep him long term?
We have, yeah, preliminary conversations. We'll get a little more in depth in those discussions now that the season's over, but certainly recognize that he's a significant piece for our overall success, and want to do everything we can to ensure that he stays here and feels valued. And so we'll engage with him on those conversations, and look forward to some announcements about that at some point in the future.
Josh, have you spoken with Coach Smith yet about the open defensive coordinator position, and how involved do you plan on being in that decision coming up?
Sure, yeah, we've had those conversations, at least started those conversations. I think it was a little premature to talk too much about them as we were still finishing up the season, but I'll be engaged in the same way that I am on every significant hire that we make. You know, I think there's a certain role that the athletic director should play on staff hires. I think that generally I'm more of a gatekeeper. I'm someone who is asked to make sure that we're representing the university and our values in the right way. But assuming we can check those boxes, I'm not often going to stand in the way when it comes to a particular person. I'll share my opinion, and Coach Smith and I have a great relationship. I think he trusts my view on football and a lot of things that are happening within that building. But ultimately that'll be his decision. So I'll be involved, but it'll be Coach Smith's call at the end of the day what direction he wants to go.
Anything else for Josh? All right. Thanks, everybody.